Shalom, my name is Joseph Shulam, and I am going to continue teaching from 1 Samuel. We have arrived in chapter 6, and my first comment is, if you notice carefully, chapter 5 and 6, Samuel is not in the picture. Samuel left Shiloh, went back home. Here, not far from where I live, in Ramah, in Ebenezer, close by. He's now become a circuit rider. He's traveling throughout Israel, prophesying and teaching and promoting a heartfelt relationship with the Almighty God of Israel. Not a temple, not a tabernacle, not an altar, not a monument. He's promoting a relationship with the Almighty God based on his prophetic and Torah orientation of how to live in a relationship with the Almighty God. And he's the first real classical prophet. Classical prophets are those who had documentation, who had a story written of their ministry, of their life. I don't know who wrote the book of 1 Samuel, but it is about Samuel. From the beginning of the book to the end of the book and on into 2 Samuel. Less. Do you know that in many languages, they don't have 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings. They have 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 3 Kings, and 4 Kings, like in Russian, Bulgarian. In most of the Orthodox Bibles, it's like that. The names of the books are a little bit different. So, chapter 6, verse 1. And the ark of the Lord is in the field or in the area of the Philistines already 7 months. And during those 7 months, the ark of the Lord did havoc in Philistia. It was moved from one of the Philistine cities to the other one to the other. Almost all five of them experienced it. Wherever the ark was, they had trouble. Why did they have trouble? They put the ark of the Lord inside the temples of their idols. And the Lord is not impotent. He showed them who is the boss. In the temple of Dagon, Dagon fell twice. The second time his head rolled off and his hands rolled off, broke off. I explained it when I taught about that. And now we are in the place where the Ark of the Covenant circuited the Philistine area and cities. The Philistines are tired of it. They don't know what to do with it. And you would say, why didn't they just burn it? Break it up? Destroy it? No. Pagans who have many gods also have respect for the gods of the others, because essentially the same gods had different names and different mythology connected to them from one country to the other, whether it's Egypt or Rome or Greece or Babylon or Persia. Whoever is pagan, what are they going to worship? They're going to worship the elements, the mountains, the rivers, the springs of water, the ocean, the sun, the moon, the stars, what they consider the powers, the energies that control their world. But we know that there's only one God who made the heavens and the earth and everything that is in it, and we worship him. When we worship him, essentially We appreciate His creation, the rivers and the mountains and the winds and the rain and the snow and the sunshine and the beaches and the fishing in the wonderful rivers. And our health and our provisions and our lives in this world and in the world to come. So the Philistines got tired of all the havoc that the Ark of the Covenant did. So they said, I'm in verse 3 of chapter 6, if you send away the Ark of God to Israel, the Ark of the God of Israel, do not send it empty, but by all means return it to him with the trespass offering. Then you will be healed, and it will come to know you why, and it will be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. In other words, here they are pagans, folks. Idol worshippers. But they understand some principles that both some Jews and some Christians don't understand. You don't go to God or approach God empty-handed. This is a Torah principle. You can't go to the priest empty-handed. You have to bring your offering, whatever it is. Doesn't have to be everybody the same offering. Even sin offering, for the same sin, depends on who you are, what you have to bring. If you're rich, you have to bring a bull. A few 100 pounds of beef. If you are not so rich, you can bring a goat or a lamb. That's maybe 100 pounds of meat for the altar and for the priest. If you're poorer, you bring 2 doves, 2 turtle doves. And if you're still poorer, you just bring a handful of corn, of meal, anointed with a little bit of oil. That's it. It's equal power between the bull and the handful of, but it all depends on who you are. Now, if you can bring a bull and you bring a handful of meal, the same thing could happen to you. It happened to Ananias and Sapphira in Acts chapter 3. You're playing with God. You're trying to cheat God. God knows what you have in your pockets, what you have in your heart, what you have in your bank account. God knows everything. So you don't play with it. These pagan Philistines, enemies of Israel, no, we're not going to return the symbol, the Ark of God's covenant, empty-handed. We have to send, what are we going to send? We're going to send the token of what we have experienced from God. What did you experience? Hemorrhoids and mice. Tumors. Depends how you translate it. The Hebrew word is hemorrhoids. God got them in the rear end, so to speak, literally. And like I said in the previous lesson, I'd like to see what a golden hemorrhoid looks like. What mice look like, I know. I've experienced them. One night in the 1980s, knock on our door, 40 live mice were thrown by 2 Orthodox young men that were sent by a certain organization to persecute us. We caught that night, my mother, my wife, and I, and Salim Munayer was staying with us at that time. We caught 39 mice. We didn't know how many there were, but we caught them, put them in a bag, and took them to the police station in downtown Jerusalem. Put them on the desk of the night officer. He started screaming, "Take them off! Take them off! I hate mice!" We hate mice too, but we had to deal with them. It's a long story, but I know what mice look like. That was my point. So, how are they going to send it back? The road the Philistine territory, from Gaza to Jerusalem, the same road that still exists, exactly the same road that still exists, is most of the way between two hills, not mountains, but between the two hills, in a ravine, in a kind of a valley between the two hills. That's where the road goes, and it's been going there since the dawn of history. So they may have to make sure that the cows go on their own to the territory of the Israelites and don't turn back and come back with the Ark of the Covenant back to the Philistine cities. So they decided they're going to test the situations to see if the God of Israel wants the Ark back. So they get two cows that had just given birth to two calves. And they build a brand new cart with brand new wood that has never been used before. And those cows that have never been put to work before to, drag a cart behind them. And they load the ark on top of this brand new cart with cows that have never been trained to take a cart. And they release it on the road. They release it on the road, ancient road from Gaza, from the Philistine territory to Jerusalem. The same road that the Ethiopian eunuch took when he left Jerusalem after he went to a bookstore and bought a scroll of Isaiah, which is not a small scroll. It's 66 chapters. It's almost the size of half of the Torah scroll that has the 5 books of Moses. So they put the cart on the road, and the miracle was that these cows that left their calves behind didn't turn around and go back. They continued the road, and the scenery changes. Now, one more thing that is interesting is in verse 6 of chapter 6, says, "Why then do you harden your hearts as the Egyptians and the Pharaohs hardened their heart?" When he did mighty things God did mighty things among them, among the Egyptians. Did they not let the people go and they might depart? Now therefore make a new cart, take 2 milk cows which have never been yoked, and hitch the cows to the cart and their calves home, away from them. Then take the ark of the Lord, sit it on the cart, and put the articles of gold which you are returning to him as trespass offering in the chest by its side. So they release that cart, and the cart walks up the road. And the ark, the cows don't turn around and go back. They continue. And they headed toward the city of Bet Shemesh, which still exists. And now, in the last few months, I'd say a year, not more than a year, the old excavation at Tel Bet Shemesh that was done started 1923 by Harvard University is now continued by the Tel Aviv University, and fabulous archaeological finds are found there from all the Israelite period and the pre-Israelite period and the post-Israelite period, all the way to the Crusades, and really amazing excavation, huge excavation. Now the scenery changes in verse 13. Now the people of Bet Shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley, and they lifted their eyes and saw the ark and rejoiced to see it. The ark has been now 7 months in the hands of the enemy, of the Philistines. It was captured in Shiloh and taken. Actually, it was captured in near Mitzpah, because the sons of Eli took it, and they thought that miracle would happen if they brought it to the battle, and the Philistines capture it and they take it. And all of Israel knows Israel lost the battle. Thousands of people died. More than 30,000 people died in the battle. Mainly men. And the ark was captured. The ark which held the Torah that was received by Moses on Mount Sinai, and the jar of manna, and the stick, the staff of Moses and Aaron was inside. Probably had to be cut in pieces because it was much bigger than that ark was. We know the size of the ark wasn't very big. About the size of most of the arks of most of the Egyptian gods, more or less. Yes. So they released it. The scenery changes. It's harvest time. When is harvest time? Between Passover and Shavuot, springtime. The people are in the fields toward Shavuot, toward, let's say, the month of July, August. And they're harvesting their wheat. And the cows are coming lowing up the valley, the road. And the harvesters that are reaping and harvesting the wheat raise up their eyes to see what's coming, and they see the ark, and they rejoice to see it. Then the cart come into the field of Joshua of Bet Shemesh, and stood there. Large stone was there.